As we know, the Arc Raiders Tech Test 2 just ended, but there's a ton of additional developer updates, including a potential release date and the next big thing. We'll go over some stats and cool breakdowns from the tech test, as well as some speculations. That does even include map count and the release date, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up world, it's Utopia back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Arc Raiders. Let's just jump right into it. First up, we did have some developer announcements to go over. Or of course, they do mention here that the Tech Test 2 is now officially ended, that servers have gone offline, and you will no longer be able to connect to the game. And yeah, even if you go on Steam, it currently just says uninstall, so it doesn't even let you play or load up the game at all. They also want to thank everybody for taking a moment to play and enjoy the game over the past few days. And if you didn't get to join this time around, they said no problem, they'll be back. So I'll go over some further details about that in a bit here. They also do mention that there is a survey they would like you to fill out. I'll link to it down below, so if you did participate in the tech test, you should try to fill that out for them. That way they can take in all the feedback, make any changes or adjustments they need to before launch. As of this moment, they said they became 84,000 raiders that gathered on this awesome Discord server. They didn't really promote the server like that, so that is pretty impressive so far. As they do mention though, the server will now be in read-only mode, as they do work on to structure the server and make it even a better place. There is some additional mentions here though. So if we jump over, we had some Tech Test 2 announcements that do give some more clarity here. They went over what happens now. Essentially, again, the game servers did go offline, and as they did mention, the Discord server will go into read-only mode. That was again last night at 3 AM, as they need some time to clean up and prepare you for the next thing. So it looks like we do have some major things coming down the line, and I'll go over a few of those here. Although first off, they do mention that your progression from the Tech Test 2 will not carry over to the release game. But if you did participate in this Tech Test 2, you'll get an exclusive skin if you do end up purchasing the game at launch and have participated in Tech Test 2 with any of the platforms. Just make sure that you have your linked platform to the Embark ID or to your Embark ID. With that though, they do go over some fun facts and some milestones from the actual tech test. This time around, Arc enemies that were destroyed were 7 million, which is quite a lot more than the first tech test. There was also this interesting one, raiders who upgraded Scrappy to max level. Only one person was able to do that in the entire tech test, so I'm sure they'll probably get a shout out with the full game's release or launch. Potentially they'll hide some Easter eggs somewhere like they did with the finals a lot of times, so I'm sure that will coincide some way, shape, or form. They also mentioned that there was 4 million rounds played, which is more than 1.7 million hours. Absolutely a staggering number. And that the Queen was defeated 58 times, but that she also eliminated 17,000 raiders. So quite the challenging boss there. Glad they have something like that in the game, and I hope they continue to add those challenging moments there. They've been pretty good about keeping things at least some competitive and casual moments in balance. Like they did a great job with this tech test, and it really kind of showcased some things. Now there were some arcs that I noticed from last tech test, or at least tech test 1, that were a lot more buffed, or at least had a lot more HP. It seemed like some of the arcs were a little bit too easy to down and eliminate, but I think that's okay overall, as there was some more beefy ones, including of course the Wasps and the Hornets did seem a little bit better. Although overall, I think the balance is in a pretty good place. They were a little bit too tanky in Tech Test 1, I think. Now, as they did mention, what happens now? There's been a lot of comments on release dates, if there's another beta. What is essentially going on with the game? Now, essentially, if we use Embark's timeline information, they are a newer studio, and this is just their second game. So we only really have one other game to reference here, which is the finals. And if we go off their timeline comparisons and kind of coincide everything together, now, if you do remember, they actually did say in their earnings call that this is coming out in 2025. So we do have a limit here. It's not going to get pushed to 2026 given that there are no delays, or at least that's not when the timeline for when this could come out. So if we look at the finals timelines here, all the betas and their launch, they did actually do that one a little bit different. So they had closed alphas and closed betas into an open beta, where Arc Raiders, yes, originally had some closed alphas back in the day. That was before the game got changed, but now they've just done tech tests, which is something the finals never really did. Anyways, if we do look at the timeline comparison here, we see that the closed alpha for the finals was in 2022, all the way into closed beta, which was in March 2023. So there was a massive gap between those, where we actually did see a 9-month gap from the first beta launch into the open beta, which started from March 2023 into October 2023, and then 2 months later after the open beta we had the full launch in December of 2023. Now since these are labeled differently, it's a little bit harder to pinpoint this, but we can kind of do so with Tech Test 1 for Arc Raiders being October 2024. Now we also had Tech Test 2, which was in April-May 2025 that just ended, and they're still calling this a tech test, not a beta just yet. So if we look at the overall timeline between these two and kind of compare the gaps in those, again, the finals had a 9-month gap from its first large beta to launch. Or if we do look at here, again, Arc Raiders having 2 tech tests, it might be reasonable to expect the next phase not being launch. Instead, those could be a closed or open beta that would maybe happen this summer, with the final release happening late Q3 or Q4 of 2025. Again, given that there are no delays, everything from the earnings call says it has to be in 2025. At least that's what we're going off of with the data that we have. So the overall predicted timeline here for closed/open beta could be July to August 2025. Again, I'm assuming it probably will be an open beta at this point since they've already had tech tests, and they're probably going to want to try to have the floodgates open, with then the launch suspected to be between September to November 2025. I know people are hoping then that they would shadow drop it or even launch it a bit early. Given their previous track record though, this is the best we have for potential launch dates. And also given that there are no major delays between then and now, which for sure could happen in between there. Given everything we have there, again, I would expect a beta to happen first before launch, so that could happen a little bit later this summer, as they do say it's happening with the next thing, or that Discord is opening up for the next thing, so they are preparing for that right now. And given my experience from Tech Test 1, I wasn't allowed to take any footage, so I can't compare anything, as it was under NDA. But if I do compare from Tech Test 1 to Tech Test 2, there was actually a decent amount of changes, from the UI to the weather system. It also definitely ran better for me overall, and did look like it got a decent amount of graphic enhancements with lighting, although not crazy changes there. But there was also some major UI changes, which I really do like a lot of them, and a lot of overhaul to some of the icons as well. That was within a 6-month period, so definitely a lot of things could change up until launch. Now, given that we have some launch details, it looks like an insider might have leaked to a content creator when the release date might be, as well as the map count. Now, they didn't exactly mention when the release date would be, but they did say there was going to be 12 maps on release. Again, not sure how accurate that is. We only got 3 maps in the tech test, so getting an additional 9 would be quite crazy. Maybe they do mean 6 regular maps and 6 night raids, which I think is more in line with that. Although there is some backing to this theory, this game was originally meant to be a PvE looter shooter, and they would have for sure needed around that map count. But 12 maps just seems like insane amount here. More than likely, if anything, maybe they have 12 maps prepped. Maybe they launch with 6 or 8 or even more, but eventually drip feed those in. I could see that too, just having those pre-planned. Again, we're not for sure on that. This just seems like some of the content creators talked about it, which is with Landmark and Shroud. You can check out their full clip there. I will link to it down below if you want to. We got some other cool facts from the tech test. This first one here, if you've noticed just how realistic the Arc machines are in their Arc drone design, essentially how they do fly. When you hit a wing, it actually acts like a real drone in real life. This is because they actually used machine learning, physically based AI agents to walk, at least how the robots would actually walk in real life. They literally used machine learning that's pretty brand new technology wise, which does automate the game animation. There's a really cool article on here. For all the things against AI, this is definitely one of the better use cases of it. It's just absolutely insane how accurate the models are and how realistic they do act, especially when you hit their legs, when they're walking over terrain, or even when you're damaging other robots. It's really cool to see this tech just come to fruition. Again, I have the full article linked down below in the description if you want to check it out, and just all the new technology that's out there that they've been utilizing. We have one more last minute mentionable here, which we're now also seeing Arc Raiders being paid on social media and being promoted. So they are advertising and marketing for the game already. Someone says it might be an indicator that the launch is right around the corner, but I just think that they're trying to do a little bit better than they did with the finals and market this one a little bit earlier, just to get that push out there. I believe they've already tested a shadow drop launch with the finals, and it worked out originally, but I think they want to try to maybe go with something more mainstream now. At least that would be my assumption. Again, pure speculation. I don't know anything or have any insider information, nor could I share that with you if I did. But I still think this is pretty cool overall, and glad that they are finally advertising for this game, and hopefully will help them better in the long run. Overall, it should about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuce!